it's been a long time, and so for me, it was kind of a different intro. But I want to thank you guys for being patient with us. It was a crazy break we had
Yeah,
with the
Jesse had a lot going on
holidays.
in his personal life. Am I right?
Yes, I got married, as you guys can see, and it was the middle of Christmas, and it was I had a wedding, obviously. I found out, I'm having a soon to be child. So my wife got
Congratulations.
pregnant. Yeah. So my wife got pregnant. And so
Very, very packed month.
mm, very packed month. So I was like, Seth, I don't know. I'm gonna have to wait till the new year. But we're back as
Season
promised.
two.
In season two, new year. We have some cool things going on, and we're starting the show with a bang. We have Micah here. Seth has raved about Michael for a long time, and he thought this would have been a perfect person to kick off the show for the new year. And so we definitely welcome you on the show. And I'm going to give you the mic pretty soon here, but I want Seth to do his intro, and then he can introduce Michael again.
Hi guys. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, me and Micah have been in the same circles for a long time, despite at some point growing very, very different in our political views, and we're sort of coming back together on the same. I mean, I used to consider him like my intellectual rival at one point, and I think he kind of won in a lot of those arguments. So it's good to come back together and like discuss things again once we're all resettled in our own stances after witnessing 2020 and 2022. Micah, you just had an election. Was that yesterday?
Was that yesterday? It was December 9th when we had our
nice.
election. Just a little while ago, but we're still reeling from it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to go
Yeah,
into
so
that, yeah.
Well, first I'll probably introduce myself. So, hey everybody, I'm Micah Erfan. I'm super happy to be here with you because, like, whenever Seth says we go far, like way back, like it goes way so far back in like the Twitter universe that I don't even remember whenever I met this guy.
Yeah.
We've certainly had many.
We were probably following each other in like before the 2020 election even happened. Like,
yeah, it was like whoa! I got on Twitter like, and I met Seth, so he's certainly witnessed a journey. So I am a political organizer in Houston. I also am a writer, and I'm making my own digital content through various forums. I'm trying to launch my TikTok, and I have a podcast with Econo Boy and Socialism Done Left, where we kind of talk policy. Also, one last shout out. I'm on the steering committee of the Center for New Liberalism, which is one of the biggest center-left advocacy groups in terms of like grassroots advocacy in the country. So if you are interested in kind of the brand of politics I espouse here, I really highly suggest you consider joining your local chapter.
We'll drop that link for sure.
Definitely. So, man, welcome back, guys. It was crazy. I feel like we can spend, I know we only have an hour. I feel like we can spend a good hour just talking about how the Republican Party last quarter was just, it was insane. I mean, we were talking about high heels, and Ramaswamy was talking about corrupt Nikki, and what else was there?
Other completely irrelevant things in the grand scheme of things, but yeah,
completely had nothing to do with policy, just name calling,
just drama.
Yeah, we had DeSantis completely failing. Trump completely absent-minded. But I tell you this, one of the cool things that we've done, and I'm kind of proud of my, judiciary. You guys know I'm a lawyer, so I'm very proud. We've been following the Constitution, and we've been removing Trump from the ballot because, he is an insurrectionist. Yeah. And I've been pretty proud. Going to the Fourth Amendment, yes.
14th, my bad.
14th. I'm going to quote yourself. You got to be good about it. Yeah. So that's a good thing, and I'm really, really, really excited about that. And so that recapped the end of 2023. I don't know, how'd you guys feel about that last quarter, politically?
I mean, like every other quarter, it's just been absolutely chaotic and like terrifying. Like they just can't stop getting worse, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the Republican Party. I mean, they always find a way to get worse. And, with each and every primary cycle, more of like the traditional normal Republicans, which just wanted to defund old people and poor people, get replaced with crazy people who want to do all those defunding things,
Yeah.
but they also want to, put up new trade barriers, deport every person they don't like, draconian restrictions on all types of individual liberties, and actively a promotion of destroying our basic democratic institutions. So it always gets worse. And in terms of removing, I think this is an interesting topic because a lot of people would disagree with our take on this. I think it's absolutely correct for us to remove Trump from the ballot under the 14th Amendment. I'm glad to see that y'all agree.
Yeah.
Why do you think there is so many people, including Democrats, which have come out against these court decisions?
Those are politicians. Yeah, they're politicians. They're not actually people who do the law for a living. It's like if you're interpreting law, the definition of what insurrectionist is, that is what Trump. The facts show that that's what he did. I mean, there's no way around it. I'm not a judge. I'm not trying to prosecute him, but at the end of the day, I mean, those are the facts that we all know. Those are undisputed facts. That's what he did.
Yeah.
He incited a riot to take out the future president. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, and Democrats are trying to play this game where it's like, oh, we want the voters to decide, because what they really want to say is they're keeping it quiet. And this is modern Democrats, by the way, too. What they really want to say, it's like, we don't want to rally his base. Yeah. We're too scared his base is going to come out for him because of this. And it shows, and I don't know if you guys are going to kill me for this, but Chris Christie, I mean, I never liked the guy, but man, he's been on point lately. And he said it. They don't seem to have the courage to say that, no, he's an insurrectionist. I don't care if he rallies his base or not, because those are the facts. We can't live in this bubble. Like, we don't want to say something to upset one man. It's like,
I think their major flaw is assuming that the Republican base is reasonable and would not be absolutely crazy, regardless of how we respond. Like, a completely legit normal election happened, and they're still raving about completely made up claims of us like rigging the election or whatever. Completely baseless. So the idea that like us catering to them, hope they get better, is not really wise.
Well, I think you have different kinds of folks, right? And like I don't know, like I don't know if it's just like the moderates really. Like there's tons of different types of moderate politicians. There's like Bob Menendez's, and there's like probably more inspired, like cool moderates that are like actually do really important stuff. But for me, it seems like some people have like bad legal understandings where they think that like this sets a bad precedent, that we need to have we need to like try Trump for the criminal offense of insurrection before that we can have a court rule on whether he committed it or not. That just seems like a bad interpretation. Like it says nowhere that you need a criminal conviction to adjudicate whether this is the case or not. Some people like have bought into the crazy legal arguments like the office of the presidency is not an office. He's not an officer.
Yeah, that's
or like Colorado State Court can't litigate about Colorado State elections. So I think a lot of people are being good faith. They're just like buying into some stupid legal arguments.
But here's the thing, though, that we have to understand that elections are state run. So if they determine that they don't want him in the ballot because he violated the Constitution of the United States. So this thing that people think that states can't make decisions based on the Constitution is incorrect. States,
it happens all the time.
States do it all the time. Judges, state Supreme Courts.
New Hampshire, as Biden is not allowed on the ballot. It's not a completely democratic rigged system. It's state by state. The fact that Biden's not allowed on the ballot is like, I think maybe it's just the primary, but.
Well, it's just the primary.
I think
it's the primary. But you're right, though. It's state run. So whatever the governor decides, if the governor is within the law of that state, then he can do it. Or if the judiciary interpretation of, whatever statute they're using of the state statute that makes him not qualified, or if they're interpreting a federal statute, like in the facts of this one, that's their interpretation. Matter of fact, they even further, most of them already stayed their decision, letting the Supreme Court, which that's their burden, to resolve this issue because it's a dispute among the states. And the Supreme Court obviously don't have the political courage to do it. So they kind of let this little, like, we're going to kick the can down the road and see if he gets elected, and then we'll bring up the issue.
Yeah,
And that's kind of what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I really hope the Supreme Court just doesn't take up the case, or any of these
Yeah.
cases. I don't think they have yet.
I think they're going to have to, because I don't think they want another Trump. They're not going to do it before the election. So anybody that think that's going to happen is a pipe dream. That's not going to happen. Supreme Courts usually don't get involved politically. They wait till after the fact, see what happens for the political results, and then they'll make a decision.
So like
It's
this state court case in Colorado, where like their decision has not gone into effect. You think that the Supreme Court's just like never going to take it up, and so like it will just won't it automatically go into effect?
So a good example of this would have been what happened in the Affordable Cares Act. The same thing happened. The Supreme Court kind of waited. Now they saw the political will was with the Democrats at that particular juncture. So they made a decision that favored the Democrats. So the Supreme Court is very political. They're going to find the, how can I say this, the most convenient way to not look political. You saw that in the decision in terms of the abortion issue. It turned political, but their intent, if you read the actual opinion, was that they made it a states' right issue. To like every state has their opportunity to do it, versus saying outright, like, yeah, we're against abortion. Everyone knows they're against abortion. It's like majority conservative Supreme Court, but they didn't write that in the opinion. They just wrote it as, we believe in state rights, and we believe that states have the ultimate decision what to do. So there will be more of an opinion. This insurrection opinion is going to be something more along lines of that, where it splits the middle. Probably more likely favor whatever Trump wants because it's a conservative court, but don't come off.
I'm just really scared. So they could say, well, it requires a criminal conviction, which means that like we're pretty much anybody who attempts to commit an insurrection is never going to be removed from the presidential ballot because 4 years isn't enough time for it to get through the courts. If they say he's not an officer, that just wipes off all of our lawsuits against him for insurrection off the board, or all the challenges that we have for him for a ballot access off the board.
So he can be impeached. So this whole argument that he's not an officer is incorrect, because judicial officers, everybody in the executive branch can be impeached. The president can't fire them. So this whole argument, he's not an officer, it's a weak argument, because if he can be impeached,
also like he takes an oath of office, right? Like,
yes, exactly.
Office. Like I don't.
It sets a ridiculous standard for like other politicians in the future. I don't know why anybody would support that. Like the precedent.
Yeah, that's why I'm really scared about this ruling. Like it's not like we were going to lose Colorado. I mean, it's not like we were going to lose Maine. Mm-hmm. I'm just really scared that if they put a ruling out on this that overturns it, it's just going to set like some ridiculously awful like precedent.
Yeah,
which is
like Bush versus Gore.
Yeah, that was a bad precedent to set as well.
Very bad precedent, but they did it.
We just can't catch a break from these Supreme Court guys, man.
Yeah, that's it.
Well,
that's what people have to vote. Sorry, before you go. That's why state elections are important. I mean, people say it, but it's true. Like most judges are state elected; they're not on the presidential ballot. And most of these judges, so you guys know out there that a lot of these judges are very local. A lot of them all know each other, and they all know the Republicans. And a lot of justices are conservative. Not all of them, obviously, but there's a lot that are. And what happens is they get in these ballots, they get on the bench 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 5 years down the road. They have now a body of work. They get appointed by usually Republican governors, and that's how they get in these positions of power. So what ended up happening is what Democrats have really messed up in the last 10, 20 years is they've put a focus on national politics, and they've gotten out of the state races. And if we look historically, if you see what's happening in the country, most Republicans are winning state races um, throughout the whole country. I mean, obviously, we have our blue areas like New York, California, Illinois. Those are generally blue, but for the and Michigan, sorry, but sorry, South, I got throw Michigan in there. But if you look, but if you look, Florida is way more red. It's never been this red ever. We've always been a purple state. If historically Florida,
Yeah, we can completely drop the ball there.
yeah.
The state level elections matter a lot, especially in your redistricting time, because
So
go ahead.
Zach said something, and Zach, appreciate you in the chat. He said what happened in 2023. So 2023 was an election that was really against Trump. So a lot of the people who ran under the Trump umbrella lost, and Democrats won. So it wasn't so much that the Democrat Party was so strong. It's just that most Americans don't like Trump. And that's why I think he's going to lose. I think what's going to happen in 2024 is it's going to be a vote against two old people. And who's going to look more competent. So I don't think most people like Trump. And this is why his candidates always generally lose. But that's why I think what happened in 2023, the candidates really that was being run were Trump appointed candidates, and people don't like Trump. And Zach said it was about abortion. In part, it was about abortion.
But I don't want to bring Zach on here. You should bring Zach on here, and y'all can debate about that next time. Now, I think that there's probably a lot of good commentators on political strategy. We have many brilliant political strategists on our team, and many brilliant political commentators on prison affairs. But I think something that's interesting about our brand of politics is we have, I think, a different philosophy than many other Democrats, and we have some different policy ideas. So would y'all be interested in talking about like either one of those areas?
Yeah. I want to look. What do you guys think? So I'm going to segue. I'm putting Zach back in this thing. What is your guys' stance on? What is your stance on abortion?
Yeah, I think that's a good thing. Well, generally, I mean, we're obviously all pro-choice, but do you see any relevance for having like trimester
what's your message?
Weeks? Is there any sort of restriction that seems necessary?
So, I mean, to me, I think there's some parts of like the abortion debate which are like really obvious, which is like the whole entire full abortion bans are obviously ridiculous.
Yeah.
I think drawing the line of the beginning of life and like when we should afford moral consideration to like 0 weeks conception is absolutely preposterous. Now, there is people who argue about like whenever pain and experience starts. In my view, death is whenever your experience permanently ends. It never is going to come back. And life is when experience starts. And so the real question is, when does the experience start? And so some people disagree, right? So some people will say, well, actually, it's kind of late. It's like 22 weeks. Some people say, oh, it's actually 15. I don't know. I don't think I'm not any scientist, but it seems like the consensus is somewhere after 20 weeks. That's my current understanding. Yeah. So my position is based on whatever the science says.
Is it like viability?
But also, obviously, like, well, no, I think that we should put the threshold at like experience standard. So you can put like the pain threshold.
Is pain is before the viability though, right?
So viability is 24.
24.
Okay. Now, honestly, I don't think it makes a particularly huge difference if it's 22 or 24.
Agreed.
I think viability is a reasonable standard as well, and obviously should have carve outs for people who are
medical
condition.
Yeah.
I don't think that. I think that the best argument for having no restrictions on abortion is that there's no sensible way to regulate. Like, there's like no point in regulating third trimester abortions. But I just find that to be implausible. Like, I think that we take a very radical position if we say that, like, like last week, right? 1 week before you're going to give birth. If somebody, let's say they were crazy, this doesn't really happen, but let's say somebody said, I want to just abort this fetus, even though it's fully developed. I think we take a radical position. We say, yeah, that's fine. Like, that's perfectly legal. I don't think that we need to take that position.
I agree.
And I think if we don't take that position, like, we're going to win a lot more people over, because you see all those signs and those protesters. I live in a very, I grew up around very conservative people. I live in Texas. Like, they're talking about third trimester abortions. That's not what we're
That's all
talking
they
about.
talk about. Yeah.
That's insane.
You're saying minutes before baby's out, they go in, they do an abortion, and that's happening everywhere, all across America.
It's not really happening, but like we don't need to defend this thing that's not really happening,
But we also can't just say like, oh, it's fine if it does. Like, life doesn't matter until it's actually born. Like, it is still a human life at some point. Like, it doesn't. It's because people babies are born at different times in like the trimester, so it's not like birth is a consistent measure either. Especially for
I mean, it's not like zero people have ever gotten late trimester abortions for like a non-medical reason. Like, we can't take, like, that's happened before, and like, that's bad, but it's not like it's a remarkably common thing.
It's not even a statistic.
Yeah, it's like really, really small. So like we can say like we're pro-choice, like we're pro like you having the choice when it comes to like 99.999% of like actual occurrences, but like we're totally willing to outlaw this really edge case scenario, which is like kind of absurd, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm for personally the Roe vs. Wade being just codifying the law, in my opinion. I think that's the best standard. To me, it was a perfect standard, honestly, until they came and changed it up. I mean, like I told you guys earlier, my wife is pregnant. I got to see the ultrasound of my baby at I think she's right now at 19 weeks.
Wow.
And like literally, it was like one of those experiences where I saw like the legs, the arms, the hands, the face. And for me, in my personal choice, be like, man, there's no way I could have had an abortion, because it was something to me, like it was more like, man, that's my kid. But that's for me, it's not for the person who makes that choice, if they decide they didn't want to have their kid, and that's why I think the 4-month rule that gives people enough time to make that decision, to really think about it, is a cutoff line after the 4 months. So, I mean, I think that we need to go back to that standard. I mean, because it's really hard to determine when life begins in the womb. I mean, I saw that my baby at 4 months, he looked like a worm. It's like not 4 months, 4 weeks. He looked like a little worm, So I can like, is he alive? And what is that? So
yeah.
So it's really hard, man. But yeah, like I like the stance. I like it's a great conceptual idea that, hey, where life begins, that's when we should start the conversation. And I do like that concept.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm a consequentialist, right? So like, you have to find a way to like make laws that like at least loosely approximate the actual consequences of certain behaviors. I think the Roe v. Wade standard is like really good. I think in terms of like the actual impact on people's experiences between like a 22-week standard or 24-week standard, like, is not really worth bickering about. So I think like if Democrats stick to supporting the Roe v. Wade standard, that's extremely popular, and I think it's very, very reasonable.
Yeah, and so I mean, I segue to that, which is a completely different segue from abortion, to talk about economics, because that is a thing right now.
It's a thing right now. Yeah,
the economy just came into existence.
Yes, it's a thing right now. And I was looking at the survey where Real Clear Polling, right? I love that website, Real Clear Politics, if you guys ever use it. They said the country, well, based on the US Today poll, 70% of the people think the country is in the wrong direction. And the Robinson report, 63% people thinks that the country is in the wrong direction. Now, in my opinion, I think the country is in the right direction, if you ask me. I mean, it's
when was the last time that the country like held the opinion that we were in the right direction? Like maybe 2008? Was that the last time? Yeah.
Maybe 1940? It's like, I don't
1940.
Americans are cynical. It's
Yeah.
like we're always in the wrong direction. But it's, I mean, you should always be in the wrong direction if you're trying to improve, like as a
Yeah.
country. Like that's what makes America different. It's like we're always constantly trying to improve what we were yesterday, and so
or we're always complaining.
yeah. But
Uh,
that's just what we do. It's like, you know what? I wish we had a road here. Man, they're not doing enough, you know. And it's like, and then we get a road. So
Sure.
it's a part of our American identity. This is what we do. We complain, but it concerns me that, you know, I feel personally as a Democrat that we're in the right direction. I feel like we're moving towards, you know,
Incrementally,
moving.
so definitely.
Yeah, we're moving forward. I mean, Biden can get student loans done, but I'm not gonna lie,
Got some done.
we got 3 years of relief almost from making payments, you know, and
Mhm.
you know he's moved Build Back Better, so he's got our
I
construction
mean,
work going.
he's
Or
done a
the
lot,
Infrastructure
right?
Act, yeah.
Yeah, he's done a lot.
I don't think that we could expect any Democratic president, honestly, with the situation he was faced with, to do more. I mean,
Yeah.
look at what Obama did, right? And like, I think Obama, you know, he fought really hard. He got basically the ACA passed and a very small relief package in comparison to the American Rescue Plan. And you know, a lot of Democrats thought that was cool. Like
Better
Biden's
than
done
nothing.
a ridiculous amount in
Yeah.
comparison to that. And so I think we definitely have to give him credit. Now, Americans are always doing about the economy, but here's the reality: their real wages, especially recent years, have stagnated, largely because we passed all of this social spending with the American Rescue Plan. Like we gave states a bunch of money, and the states sent their money to people in forms of tax cuts and rebates. We did the expanded child tax credit. We had expanded unemployment insurance. Like we had like this big, juicy welfare state, and then it went away.
Mm.
And so it's not that the economy hasn't been getting better; it's that the government's giving them less stuff,
Yeah.
and it's taking more stuff from them, and so they feel that, and that's a real thing. And how do you fix that? Well, I have some ideas, but what are y'all's?
Well, I was going to your idea because you know us, me and Seth, we're big UBI guys. That's what we
Yeah,
talk
definitely.
about. It's like, so we're like,
That's
hey,
probably exactly where Micah was headed.
yeah, exactly, right.
I think I think that UBI is a great idea. I've been a proponent for a long time. Now, there's always the debate about whether we do UBI or negative income tax. I really aspire for us to get to a point where we can brand a UBI in a way that can pass, like universal
Yeah.
Social Security or something like that.
I feel like
Here's
that
my
would hurt
issue.
it. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like universal Social Security would probably hurt the message for some reason.
I think that there's like debates to be had about that. I think maybe the best messaging is a universal tax credit or universal
No, I
tax
agree.
rebate, where it's like, oh, like we're just cutting everybody's taxes by $12,000, and if you pay no taxes, well, you still get it.
Yeah, people have so many
true, that is
opinions on
true.
anything. If you just reference it as a tax cut, then they're like, oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah, and then like, I mean, that's
Yeah.
largely for most people pay a lot of taxes. Most people pay more than $12,000 in taxes. So for like
Yeah.
most people, it really will be a tax cut. And it gets rid of like this whole argument of like, oh my God, it costs so much money. Because whenever we talk about taxes, we're not like, oh my God, this is government spending.
Yeah.
We're not saying that, right? We're saying
Yeah.
like, oh, this is government like spending less, right? Like it's taking less.
Mm.
Like
But
UBI could be that.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, though: is it going to be in your tax as a credit or is it as a deduction? Because that's
Credit.
going to matter. A credit,
But I
right? So
can't like you can't have a universal basic because if we already have a basic deduction, you know, the standard.
exactly right. So I'm like, so
Shit, we already
my
have
thing
that.
is like, are we going to reduce it by $1,000? So it's going to be a credit. So this is going to be just an extra $1,000 given off someone's tax liability. Is that the idea?
Well, actually, so it will be $12,000 per year probably. That's what we'd start with,
Oh,
or maybe
yeah, okay.
$500 per month. Like you know, we could how big we could get it, right? And
Yeah.
it would come off your taxes. And if you're really like low income, we do exactly what we did with the child tax credit, and we just send you a check every month. So low income people get a check every month.
You would still
Higher
be
income
monthly.
people,
It would still be
Yeah.
monthly installations, even if it was like the negative income tax.
well, so this is go ahead.
I was just going to say, I always imagined it as like a lump sum if it was the negative income tax. That's why, I don't know, it doesn't make as much sense as a universal program that's guaranteed. But
So I think that the best way to do this is like a universal tax credit. So you have like the child tax credit that we make universal, and then we have this basic American support credit. And then we take basically for high income people, we take $12,000 on their taxes. And then for low income people, we actually just send them the checks
Yeah.
monthly or biweekly. Now,
Directly
negative income
distribution.
tax is like it's like a different idea because it's like a means tested program. But still, the way that you would do negative income tax is like it's still sent out monthly. And the way that you look at people's income is you have them file like a forward income statement like they do for certain welfare.
Yeah.
I mean, it's more messy, but honestly, like guys, like we have 80 plus welfare programs. Like whatever we do here would be way better than the inefficient mess that we currently have.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of efficient programs. Most people don't even know what programs we have. Republicans just go on and on about the giant U.S. welfare state and like, oh, it's keeping people in poverty and stuff like that. But I mean, I feel like direct cash payments that they would benefit from would kind of take away that narrative that there's a class of people who are just sitting idly by receiving blank checks and not contributing to the government or to the economy.
So
yeah,
I agree. So out of the three candidates that's running for the Democratic primary right now, is any one of them in favor of UBI?
I mean, honestly, it's basically
Probably-
one. I mean,
Probably Marianne
Dean
Williamson would be, but like
Okay.
Dean Phillips said something about the pilot programs directly to me when I tweeted at him, but Biden hasn't said anything about it. But
I mean, like it doesn't. It's like so Biden can't. Biden should be trying to expand the child tax credit. But here's the reality: like if we get what 50 Senate seats, because that's what we have, best case snenario probably.
yeah,
and then we win the House, and you have a conservative Senate, right? You have like a John Tester there.
mm-hmm.
Manchin would be gone. Sinema's going to be gone. But you're still going to have John Tester. It's not like you can like go past like some crazy like massive welfare state, expansion.
No.
Like I think they're going to have to focus on the basic stuff, like supporting Ukraine and Taiwan, reducing the deficit, probably doing some healthcare stuff. I think they'll do that
Finally, because that's
hopefully
we've done nothing.
Hopefully,
on
energy
healthcare
stuff.
in the last 4 years.
We haven't.
Yeah.
Guys, we could talk about healthcare. Healthcare is like my thing. Okay,
Yeah.
so if you all want to talk about healthcare, but
That could be
basically,
a
we
whole
all
episode.
agree. Basic income is based income. That's what I'm saying, man.
True.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of problems, like you guys are listing there. I mean, a lot of problems. And I wonder how these two wars right now, I'm sorry, two and a possible third war with Taiwan and China has an effect on our domestic policies right now. Because I think Americans do feel like we're spending a lot of money and they don't really feel like they're actually getting it. And that's a very it's hard to mix that message where you're like, well, we've given this money to Ukraine, we've given this money to, Israel, and now we've given this money. Now we're having to support Taiwan against their fight against China. You see people like, and we laugh at them, but Vivek Ramaswamy, who are making these statements, and even though he acts like a child, he's ridiculous when he does it. It's still a message that's resonating with certain people. And they feel like this, that we as a party are not really focusing on domestic agendas. So I want to know your organization. What do you guys feel about, us spending so much money to support the international causes?
So I think that like you see this narrative, right? Like, oh, we're doing X when we could be helping Americans. I think it's a very small mindset and a small view of America, and it's always existed, and it's always gone away whenever the alternative side could show that this kind of stuff, we can help Americans and we can protect freedom around the world at the same time. And like this is what it is, right? This is not the Iraq War. This is protecting countries from their authoritarian foes. And I think people need to realize this is this is very, very, this is pennies on the dollar in the grand scheme of things.
It's not as
like
much as
we're
people
largely
think.
giving them old equipment that we were going to get rid of anyway. Why do we buy all these missiles? Why do we buy all these tanks if we can't give them to countries that are using them for the most justified reason, which is defending themselves from the most authoritarian, awful regimes in the world, right?
Yeah.
So I think honestly We just need to articulate our message better. In terms of the Center for New Liberalism, like we looked at the numbers. It's totally possible for us to give a little bit of our military budget to Taiwan and Ukraine and help American people. Because a lot of the things that we can do in this country that would help American people the most don't even cost us anything. We need to fix how we regulate housing because we have all these restrictions that are driving up the cost. We need to fix how we regulate energy. We do the permitting process because that is the number one thing that's stopping the green energy transition. We need to fix our nuclear policy so that we can start opening nuclear plants again instead of constantly closing them. There's all these things we could do, which costs nothing. And so
it would probably actually save us money.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I always said that in the campaign trail when I ran that it costs zero to just put good plans in place. Good plans they cost zero, and we just run the government so inefficient. And it's not even efficiency that's what help the government. It's just new ideas. When you have old politicians who's been there, done that, seen that for the last 70 years, they're gonna go back to their habits and what they think. And I personally believe that the founding fathers, they were idealists. They were 30-year-olds, 34-year-olds, 35-year-olds who thought that no, a country should be this way, and a country should be that, and a country should be that, and that's how they created America. And I think that we need to revert back to that young idea, motivated thinking, so that we can have people like Micah and his organization come up with new ideas and new plans. Because reality, that's what's killing the country. We just have old people, and I'm not ageist. I believe that old people have a lot to offer.
Anti-old people.
Yeah.
I mean, the leader of the progressive movement is Bernie Sanders, and he is
exactly.
Even Biden, so
exactly. So go ahead, Micah.
Here's my take. I'm a Democrat to the bone. I think that the central issue the Democrats have when it comes to their economic policy, both in their comm side and their policy side, is so frequently becomes about throwing money at problems.
Yeah.
And sometimes you need to throw money at problems. Sometimes throwing money at infrastructure is like a good idea because we need more infrastructure, right? Throwing money at people is exactly what we advocate. Like it just turns out when you give people money, they're less poor. It's just true, right? But it's like, whoa, like it's crazy. But like that can't be all we advocate. We need to think about efficiency a lot more. We need to look at every regulation we have on the books and say, is it doing what it's supposed to do? If it's not, okay, maybe we get rid of it. Maybe we can think of some better rules. We need to think about every licensing scheme, every permitting system, every spending program. I mean, my God, when it comes to housing, so often you see a Democrat come out and they say, I'm for making housing more affordable. Here's my way to subsidize new homeowners. Let me give more money to people to buy homes. That's fine, but we got to have bigger, more ambitious ideas than that.
I like it. That's amazing. And so
I think part of being a progressive is not sticking to old ideas. Like even like progressives who just sort of stick to the basic social democratic values of free healthcare, free universal college, blah, blah, blah. Being progressive is about new ideas. And it's about, compromise and actually actionable policy proposals and things that will pass and actually make a difference, not necessarily like being committed to a certain ideological value.
Yeah, sure. Exactly.
I think that's why most of us were like attracted to somebody like Andrew Yang, because even though he wasn't a traditional progressive, like a leftist or anything, he was somebody who introduced ideas and concepts that nobody else had brought up in politics before. Sure. And not just UBI. I'm talking about like the stuff like, the universal
democracy vouchers.
Yeah, the citizen portal, like that kind of stuff. Stuff to like revolutionize our political scene and make it easier to be a participant. Like there's the things that we need to finally achieve instead of just talking about our ambitions and our ideals that are never going to happen because we don't know how to work with the other side or work with the middle even.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to segue somewhere else, but I think I'm going to touch a little bit on that too, Seth, because you're spot on. We have to do a better job of having our leaders engage with our community. And the way that our leaders are engaging our community is very old-fashioned. They're like, let's go meet at a town hall. I mean, it's 2023. You're not going to get me to go to a town hall. It's like, it's just, I would show up to a Zoom meeting or via a text portal before I come to a town hall. So that the ideas and innovation that needs for our leaders to have to communicate with us, it has to be different, And I think that
Sure.
someone like Yang and other organizations are trying to do, we're trying to do that, but obviously they got caught into a system, and
Yeah.
and that system says like, hey, no, this is the way we do things, and if you don't do it that way, you're gonna lose.
Yeah, the problem is
And
having the system change you more than you change the system.
exactly.
And I think one of the issues that progressives face politically, very frequently all around the world, is basically two questions. One, why would I give the government more money or have the government grow larger
Yeah.
if it's very dysfunctional now? Like the stuff
Yeah.
it's doing right now
Yes,
isn't very
yeah.
good. They're taking my money, but they're not spending it efficiently now, even according to you, right?
Mhm.
And the regulations they're passing now are not very good. So why would I want it to be larger? And second, like if we are going to make it larger, how are you going to show me, institutionally speaking, that you're going to make it competent in the future, so that whenever it does become larger, whenever it takes over healthcare, right? We have Medicare for all,
Yeah.
or whenever it makes all the financing centralized in the federal government. How do we know it's going to be good at that? And I think if progressives, it's important for them to think about this stuff, so this stuff doesn't get botched. If they can articulate that message, I think they can get a lot more people on board.
Yeah, people don't consider
Exactly.
the fact that the Republicans will be in charge at some point and will be in charge of your healthcare and all that stuff. So it's not always a safe bet to put all your eggs in one basket.
No,
That's exactly my fear.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
because I'm scared if we got Medicare for all. Like, think about what happens with Medicare and Social Security today, right? Like, there's always trying to cut, always trying to defund.
It's not like they have a better
we,
plan that they're promoting. They're just trying to take down our plans. So they don't care if they're in charge, if they have some people are actually getting healthcare in a private way. No, they care about the fact that Medicare looks bad and that the Democratic agenda is a failure, because it's easier to win on your opposition performing badly than it is for you to actually promote new ideas and new proposals that work.
Exactly.
And sometimes that's bad, but like if all of our healthcare has to be financed by these guys, who can't even pass a normal budget, like they can't even pass the stuff they agree on, I think that's really worrying. And I think that we have to kind of incorporate the knowledge that Republicans are going to fight us every step of the way whenever we try to, change the financing systems like that.
Yeah, I agree with you guys 100%. I mean, that kind of brings me to this next topic, because you touched on something that the Democratic Party always have a problem with. It's communication. Every single cycle, we're messaging, and bringing Zach back in here, is about we have a messaging problem. And one of the biggest things that I did notice towards the end of the year, and we never had an opportunity to discuss it, was the messaging between the Jewish community and the Palestinian community. That was a big thing towards the end, and it almost seemed like Democrats, we've kind of had this this internal battle, amongst ourselves, because we understand for me, I understand. I can't speak to all Democrats. The plight that's happened in the Jewish community throughout their history, and we can't ignore that. But we can't also ignore the fact that the plight that the Palestinian peoples had throughout their history too.
Yeah.
And we're finally at this crossroads where we're like, people are asking us to choose, but we're like, we like both of them though. It's like, I was like, I can't choose.
It's chocolate and vanilla,
Yeah, right. It's like I don't have a favorite there. It's like they have both countries and cultures have great things about them and great people in them. And it's sad that they're at war. I mean, but we're sad they're at war, but at the end of the day, I don't think the Democratic Party can choose. I think that what we want is for there to be peace. And one of the things that, I understood why Biden did it, I didn't like it, was the over aggressiveness of we stand with Israel, we stand with Israel, we stand with Israel, no matter what, no matter what, no matter what. And it's like, no, you can't just be saying no matter what. There has to be lines in the sand.
Yeah. Well, this is a long-standing commitment for Biden. Biden has been a very pro-Israel politician for a long time, and I think that partially it's a geopolitical judgment, but partially it's like a belief that he's had that this relationship is really important. I think that this entire discourse has been really frustrating to me. It's so heartbreaking, right? It's so heartbreaking, what's going on there, the racism that's being experienced by people on both sides in the United States, the violence that's being expressed, and the fact that you see so many people just completely torn up. You see people fighting on the internet all the time about this, and it's almost as if everyone's expected to be a foreign policy expert and have a view on every single thing that's going on. It's not my I admit I'm not a foreign policy expert, so all I know is I don't like it whenever innocent people die, and I want that to happen less often. Absolutely.
I feel we have a major responsibility when we are sending so many weapons over to Israel, basically supporting their actions. And Israel's planning has been terrible. Like, we are aware of Hamas is not even, their leadership's not even located in Palestine. The people are tunneled underground, and they have like a low estimate of 60%, high estimate of like 80% of civilian casualties. Yet they're continuing this same strategy of just fucking carpet bombing the Gaza Strip. Like, it doesn't really seem like there's a lot of judgment or discernment between who is innocent and who is not. And I feel like that is a major problem that people are just sort of looking past because of the original incident, which is clearly Hamas's fault.
There's just so many ways in which the current situation in Israel is untenable to people of all perspectives. People on the like AIPAC team, J Street, they'll say it's unacceptable, and there's people on the more pro-Palestinian side which will say it's very unacceptable. And the real difficult thing is it's very hard to find a solution that people can come together around. I think the settlements make that more difficult. I think the fact that you have two teams which are completely it's not like Netanyahu is a legitimate negotiator to Palestinian people.
No.
It's not like Hamas is a legitimate negotiator to Israel. And so it's just so much pain and suffering and bad blood. And there's so much anger there. And you can't really blame people because Jewish people can point to a billion crimes that have happened against them, and Palestinians can point to a billion crimes that have happened against them. And that's what makes it so difficult for Americans, specifically American presidents, to come in and fix this. Because we've tried to do this in the past, and it's just really, really hard. But here's something I'll give credit to Biden. Biden has tried to stop Hezbollah and the Houthis from being involved. And that is extremely important because the more they get involved, the longer this is going to last, and the more people that are going to die.
And the more involved we're going to end up having to be, which is a problem. Because if they actually start taking actions against Israel, you better know the United States is going to be in the Middle East for the next 20 years. We're going to start new deployments. It doesn't matter which administration is in charge. So being careful at the beginning of this is a lot more important than, I don't know, how much we're spending on it. And it's the same in Israel, or same in Ukraine. Like, if we let this get out of hand, Russia will be a major problem in the future for us. It's in our political interest.
Okay, so let's think about this for a second. The battlefield, one thing I learned when I was in the Marine Corps is you can't win a two-front war. It's almost impossible. I mean, you see, ask Hitler.
Well, the United States, we had the Japan and we had Europe that we were fighting in. I mean, we weren't on our own, but we technically fighting.
You can't win a two-front war unless you're the United States.
True.
That's the rule.
No rules apply.
Even though it was not a two-front war, but yes, you're right. We fought two wars at the same time. Well, essentially what happens is, and this kind of segues to what I was saying, is now we're providing resources to Ukraine, right? But that's really just weapons and finance. Same thing with Hamas. And now we're going to be doing the same thing with Taiwan. How much do you think that our resources given, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, resources given to these countries is going to start affecting our domestic policy?
This is such a great take because I've been thinking about this a lot. So I mean, here's what we have to do. We have to pick which one we're going to go after, Russia or China, right? We're not planning on going to war with China. We don't need to
No.
actually send troops into Ukraine. So what do we
Yeah.
do? Well, we need to wrestle the Europeans into giving more support to Ukraine. They need to really step up to the plate, and we're going to continue to give them stuff because it's not like we're giving them. They need that much anyway, and we are
Yeah.
either going to help the Ukrainian continue their offense, or at least grind this war to a halt in a stalemate in perpetuity. We can contain it. We can support a stalemate very easily. Then eventually they're going to come to the table. Then this is my hot take. I think we absolutely need to prepare ourselves to defend Taiwan. It's not because I want us to go to war with China. It's because our commitment to defending Taiwan is not credible right now. Like China has a very large military, and this is in their backyard. How are we going to defend Taiwan? All we have is like one fleet over there. We have a couple military bases in South Korea, Japan. Can we defend them? Absolutely not. We need to move forward strike groups, landing troops, like all of their infrastructure to fully defend Taiwan. So the Chinese know that if they go across the strait, it will be a defeat or at least catastrophic losses. So they decide to finally give up on this imperialist ambition.
Yeah, China is certainly not willing to, go into any sort of altercation with the United States. They have not been in a conflict since maybe the 50s. Helping with
They
the
fought
Korean
against
War
the Vietnam. They invaded Vietnam in like the 60s or something.
That's wild.
They lost too.
Yeah, they're completely untested military. The idea that they have nobody even remotely compares to the military of the United States. It doesn't even matter.
Yeah,
So,
no, I agree with you.
Yeah, go ahead.
My thing is the economic impact, because no other country is more intertwined economically than us in China.
That's a good point.
So, and obviously, I don't think China want to get to a war with the United States military. That would be a quick war. But the problem is, what is the economic implications of war?
See, I don't know if we could be so confident about our ability to beat China, because we're fighting China over Taiwan, which is really close to them and really far away from us.
Yeah.
So, like, if we want to defend Taiwan, we can win, but we just need to put like at least 60% of our military over there. Right now, we have like 5, and like 5% of the U.S. military versus the entire Chinese military is just not going to work.
Yeah,
and
China has bodies. That I think that's people equate bodies with strength of military. Most, I can tell you, that's been in Iraq. Human to human combat, it just doesn't exist anymore. It's very rare. Obviously, it's happening in Ukraine and Israel and Hamas, but
is it even human contact, or is that just them dropping bombs?
There's just some dropping bombs. That's mostly the modern. That's modern warfare at this point. It's just you get carpet bombed left, right.
In Taiwan, I imagine, like, I don't think that the Chinese want to take the territory and we want to defend it. So it seems to me that it's going to be like house to house now.
Well, yeah, I think we won't advance on China, but to defend it will be pretty easy because China still has to cross the. Let me make sure I pull up the map, because
that's the whole point about the strike carriers. Like, we need to be able to move troops in there, because if China moves in, right, and just takes Taiwan like that, they go across the street, they neutralize the Taiwanese Air Force and their navy like this, and then they just march through, and like we have to do a D-Day like landing. Like, that's just not going to happen. The only way that we defend Taiwan is if we get people and equipment there like immediately, as soon as the war starts. And we have to be ready to do that. We can't do that from like military bases in California. Like, we need stuff in South Korea. We need stuff in Japan. We need stuff.
We have a stronghold in Japan. We have because when I was, Marine Corps has 4 units. The first one being in North Carolina, the second one being in California, the third one being I can't even think of the name right now.
Is it South Korea?
No, it's Japan. I just can't think of the name. I'll give you right now. It's been a while. I can't say this word.
Okinawa.
Okinawa. Thank you. So it's our strongest. I think last time I checked, there's like a couple 100,000 Marines on that base. if not. So it's not like they're completely going to be abandoned. We have force over there. I mean, I don't know if it's a force to stop China. I mean, right? From my understanding, China only has like 3 carrier groups in all of
I
China's
think they
navy.
have. Yeah, like they don't have very many aircraft carriers. I think they do
No,
have a lot of advanced submarines. Like I think their normal ship fleet is, but like they don't need as many aircraft carriers because like they're not doing. They're just trying to take this island that's like pretty close to them. Like we're trying to like project force out into their backyard. So
well, because
like
that's like
we probably need
uh,
them.
if Taiwan goes. I mean, how much allies will we have over there? We have Japan, South Korea. That's and I feel like
For like
that's an opening of epic portion. I think it's more epic than Ukraine losing to Russia. I mean, if
Yeah,
you lose Japan,
more
North Korea,
consequential.
yeah, it's more consequential. You lose Japan, South Korea, and you start losing those islands, you start losing your footing in Asia. And if you lose your footing in Asia, you're really talking about a super global power who's really, in my opinion, are we trying to take our spot as a
Yeah,
super
Russia's
global
not even
power?
close.
Yeah, I'm not worried about Russia.
I mean,
Russia's, I mean,
Russia's like super weak, but to me,
yeah,
I mean, for me, call me an idealist. I just think that it's really bad for millions of Taiwanese people to live under an authoritarian dictatorship. Just
yeah,
like the same thing with Hong Kong, and I don't think China would invade South Korea or Japan.
yeah.
Now, certainly, there's a first island chain that we have, which includes Taiwan, which contains China and prevents them from extending their authoritarianism farther. But ultimately, we just have to send a message to every authoritarian country in the world. Like, as long as we're around, you can't just go impose a dictatorship on your democratic neighbors. It's just not going to be cool. Like,
Yeah.
we are America. Like, we're not cool with it. And people say, oh, you're making America the world's policeman. The only thing worse than having a policeman that you don't like is having chaos or
Yes.
having like tribal dictatorships everywhere. I would really like it if the Europeans and South Americans and other countries around the world would help us. But if they're not going to help us, it's important that at least somebody stands up for what's right.
And that's a great segue, guys. Uh, I want to kind of close off the show with because it's a new year. I wanted to guys get your guys' opinion on what are some of the goals of this year. I mean, politically, what are you guys looking to do? And I know
I don't
your
think there's
organization.
anything other than Biden's reelection to focus on. I mean, there's a lot of down the
Yeah,
ballot things, but if Trump is elected, I can't even imagine a United States what that's going to look like because Trump is not looking for reelection after he gets elected. Like,
no,
no,
he's trying to go full like anything I want, I'm getting.
yeah,
Yeah,
That's a
yeah.
scary, scary election.
2024 and on.
Yeah,
I mean, for me, this is always the objective: flip Texas blue wherever we can. So
yeah.
Trump is
there's
focusing on what New Jersey and Minnesota and New York right now. Didn't he say that? He's trying to like
I,
flip basically safe Democratic states. So I mean, we
yeah.
might as well go after Texas and
I mean, but see, that's people say like, oh, we can't flip Texas. That's a pipe dream. I mean, Georgia was a safe Republican state
yeah,
until we won four Senate races in 2 years.
Mhm.
Kentucky was a safe Republican state until Andy Beshear just won like 2 times, and he won by a lot this time. So
hmm
we can win. And you look at the demographics of Texas, we can absolutely win. We just need to organize. We need to fund voter contact, and we need to get our messaging right.
Yeah.
and you need like strong leadership at the top. I don't know about Beto O'Rourke as being the man to.
I like the work. I just can't never see why he never breaks through.
I feel like
Because
he's
I
just
actually like
not.
him.
I feel like he's probably more popular with most people around the country except for Texans. Am I wrong?
Yeah, I mean, well, there's just we can always blame a candidate, but there's ultimately so many different variables that go into any election outcome.
Yeah.
Beto tried really hard. We didn't make it that time, but next time it's probably not going to be him. I think he's probably tired of running.
Yeah,
Whoever it is,
tired of
we're gonna
losing.
work. We're gonna work our tail off to make sure they win because ultimately anybody that comes from our side is going to be better than these culture warrior Republicans, which seem to not even be interested in kitchen table economic issues, not even interested in doing anything to bring down healthcare costs, housing costs, or anything else. They're intent to ban ESG. That's what they ban. Fighting the culture war in our universities, bullying, LGBTQ kids. This is not an agenda that that it's hard to beat.
Yeah, I mean,
even like a moderate Republican would be a dramatic improvement for Texas. Like anything's Greg Abbott is
Absolutely.
one of the worst governors in like decades.
is Matthew McConaughey running? I think the world wants to know.
It's always an option.
No, I mean, there's some people that might run. Like there's some people on the Democratic side that we already know are probably going to run. Then there's like the real question marks, like the Mark Cubans of the world who like tease that they're going to run. I would really like to see him run just so I feel like that would be a really interesting experience.
I feel like he's a real wild card in terms of policy, because I know when I was a libertarian, I remember him being all like a super big fan of the Fountainhead and Ayn Rand's stuff like that. But he's also, I feel like I remember him talking about UBI in the pandemic, and so he's a wild card when it comes to policy.
Here's the thing about a lot of these rich folks, Mark Cuban, Jamie Dimon, they're very market oriented. They think markets work really well, and I think that
because they're
generally tends to be the
billionaires and
case.
it's worked well for them. So.
I mean, absolutely, they're extremely biased. Now, I think it just so happens to be the case that in many cases, like markets actually do work pretty well. I like markets. I think markets and individuals are kind of better at choosing things than the government is. But like they're not really anti-redistribution so many times.
Yeah.
Like they're like, yeah, you could take some of my money. I probably have a lot. So you get like a unique ideology of like this kind of market-oriented kind of equality mindset. I don't know how progressive Mark Cuban is, but I know Jamie Dimon's like, yeah, tax war, whatever.
No, Jamie Dimon's like, vote for Nikki Haley. She's the one. It's like, what?
He can't decide which. He's part of Trump's economic advisor gang. Then he's like, Trump is actually in danger.
It's like she's the one. It's like, man, she can't even win a primary. It's like she's the one. She can't even be Trump.
She can't even recount what the Civil War was about. So I think that she might want to read a little bit more history.
South Carolina is
that was so bad.
I feel like there's not a good education about the Civil War when it comes in South Carolina. I'm pretty sure they still call it like the war for states' rights or something like that. Like, don't even call it the Civil War.
Like, what do you want me to say about slavery? I don't know. It's bad, like something. I'm not asking for a lot here, man.
It's like it was bad, It's about state rights. State rights. What are we talking about? And she's like, it was a trick question. It was like a trick question. You went for president of the United States. You can't answer that question. It's like it's basic civil seventh grade.
Yeah, I feel like everybody's introduction to politics is deciding that slavery is bad when you're in third grade, but somehow she still hadn't thought about it.
It's like
she didn't consider it, but she walked it back. Yeah, she's obviously trying to pander, and that's the thing about Nikki Haley. I mean, it served her well. I think people have to give her credit for it. She went from a Tea Party opportunistic Republican, who was really a Reaganite, pretending to be a Tea Partier, to like surviving in Trump's party. And, it looks like if she runs in 4 years, she's going to have a good chance to win the nomination because of the way she's played her cards. I don't think
she's like Trumpist. She's like a good combination of like Trumpism and like Romneyism.
Well, like she is like the Romney Reaganite kind of person that is nice enough and associated enough with Trump to survive. And I don't think she really cares that we don't like her. We're not the people who would ever vote for her anyway.
Yeah, that's true. I think, but my problem with her is just, who do you think her and DeSantis really gives a fighting chance for 4 years? Because they're both going to lose this year. I mean, we know it's Trump. But in 4 years from now, who do you really think has an actual shot, DeSantis or her?
I think DeSantis is done. So I mean, it's gonna Nikki Haley's probably gonna run, and then there's gonna be somebody else, and I imagine it's gonna be a more MAGA option. And I think
there'll be like 8 more.
Yeah, there's gonna be a bunch of people, and I imagine somebody like Nikki Haley or in her wing of the party will win because Republicans will eventually get tired of losing. And all of their media is going to say, we're tired of losing. Like all of the big officials, the elected officials, they're super quiet about Trump right now, right? Because they know he's going to win the nomination. once he's gone, he loses again, they're gonna come out and they're gonna be like, yeah, that guy kind of sucked. Let's stop losing now.
Yeah, they
and
have
then
no
here's the
choice
problem.
but to go ahead.
Well, the only thing I was gonna say is like because they have made the Overton window so far to the right and they've normalized this insanity. Once they start being normal, I'm really afraid the Democrats are gonna lose really big because people are gonna be like, "Oh, these guys are like really moderate now." You
Yeah,
know?
right. It's like they're done being crazy. You're 100% right on that. I'm concerned for 4 years from now because I mean I think Biden can pull it out. I mean, hopefully he can pull it out. I hope.
If
I
we
think
work hard
a
enough.
lot of factors depend. I mean, I
I
do
think
think if
that
he is a last pitch Hail Mary couple of policies that stick in people's mind, like marijuana decriminalization, maybe like some
I
action
think
on like criminal justice,
I
I think that's gonna make a difference.
I think the ground game and the organizations are going to come out for him, and we're going to do everything that we can. But I think what happens, honestly, is people are going to look and just be like, "Can he make it for 4 years?" And that's really what it's going to come down to, because it's
That's
not
my
going to be based.
biggest problem too, is because I feel like
It's
a
not,
lot of people are imagining that we are voting for Kamala Harris, basically.
that's
And
I think that's what a lot of people
she
think.
doesn't seem like the
Listen,
kind of
guys,
person that would win re-election. That's all.
I'm fine either way. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. Biden is based.
I'm talking about
Kamala's
electoralism.
Kamala's cool. Listen. Right now, people can think about this all they want. Oh, what if we ran, Josh Shapiro? What if we ran, Roy Cooper? Like, what if we ran JB Pritzker? We're not running in this, but none of those people are in the primary. This is
Yeah,
not
they're
like
not.
Dean Phillips, whatever his name is. He's not going to win. Mariana Williamson, oh my God, she's not going to win. So we got Biden. That's what we got. People, I like him. People that don't like him, they need to suck it up because it's Biden or fascism. And don't tell me, oh, Biden's too close to Trump to make this decision. Biden's done so much stuff to make more left-wing people happy. So if you're still not happy with him, whenever the alternative is fascism, you need to get better contacts. You need to get better eyeglasses because the contrast couldn't be clearer.
I don't have a problem with him on policy as much as like what he could have actually realistically achieved with the Senate and the House. I think it is for me mostly about electoralism and whether or not we are eventually going to descend into fascism because if it's because of Kamala Harris being able to win like basic blue states. Like
I'm with that.
You don't believe in her.
I don't.
You gotta believe in Mamala.
I don't a little bit.
I don't believe in her. Sorry.
We gotta believe in Mamala, man.
I don't think Biden even believes in her. They're not using her for anything. They're hiding.
This poor girl got so many haters out here. Okay, here's the thing. Maybe Joe Biden just falls down and dies. Maybe lightning strikes him and she's our nominee. Okay, we can complain all we want. Maybe we can complain all. Oh my God, she can't win. Oh my God, her laugh's weird. Like, guess what? We gotta work. We're fighting fascism, y'all. We don't got time to complain. We don't got time. And Kamala.
Well, my vote is okay. I'm doing it right now. Gavin Newsom, just jump in.
It's too late. He can't even. And honestly, I think Gavin's as a Texan. Shit, I would be sad if I'll take Kamala because she's been vice president. But I have beef with Californians. I'm sorry.
I have
I'm a proud
Newsom too. Gavin Newsom's.
Sorry,
he
Seth.
could be a lot. No, dude. I mean, I'm not a Californian, really.
My California Democrats. I still call. This is just a Texan thing. I call California California. I feel like California Democrats. They're on some other wavelength.
There's just such a wide range of them now. Like you can go from the Dianne Feinstein, Eric Schiff Dems, and then there's Barbara Lee. Katie Porter, Ro Khanna. Like there's such a wide range.
I'm a Texan. I have no nuance. Okay, my beef with California is personal. It doesn't matter who they can put up Jesus. We got beef. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, this Texas and California beef is so real. Like it's a real thing. Like you guys are really beefing. Us here in Florida, we're just getting everybody else. It's like, yeah, we don't want California, we don't want Texas. Let's move to Florida.
You know, I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it. San Antonio is better than Houston. I've been there.
Oh, ouch! I mean, I give him basketball team wise. No, yes, it's right.
Okay, y'all. It's getting late.
Yeah.
So,
Thanks,
So
Micah.
I can't take much more of this.
Micah's right. It's getting late. But Micah, if you want to shoot out your organization's URL,
links, social media.
links,
Yeah,
social
so,
media,
so
everything.
So go to micahirfan.com and you can find all my social media links, kind of some information on what I'm doing, MICAHERFAN.com. If you're interested in the organization, the grassroots organization that I participate in, I go to cnliberalism.org, cnliberalism. You can sign up, you can become a member, you can find your local chapter, you can read some of our cool policy ideas, and you can start listening to our podcast, which is we bring on nerds all the time. So participate, guys, and also make sure you help your Democrats because we gotta elect Joe Biden or Kamala. It doesn't matter who it is. We can elect the frog, whoever the Democratic nominee is. We gotta make sure they win.
President Joe
like
Manchin.
it.
All right.
Oh, right.
Vote blue, no matter who, baby.
All right, so
all right, we'll have to have you on soon. You know, we got to have a in-depth policy discussion at some point. I'm sure there's plenty of episodes in this next season 2 of Imagine More. We'll have a lot of recurring guests. So I wish you the best of luck with your new podcast. I think you guys had one episode so far?
We had one episode so far, yes.
Well, I hope the rest of them are good. You guys get some good guests on. I will definitely be watching myself. I hope everybody else watches. It's the 3 Wonks. Is that what it's called?
The 3 Wonks, yes.
The 3 Wonks. That's awesome. And we look forward to it. And the more podcasts, the more we're engaging, the more we're in conversation, it's the better for progressives. And I love the movement. I love what we're doing and how we're just slowly picking up our arms around a new message, a new way of doing politics, and I really do enjoy it. With that being said, I hope you guys imagine more this year. It's 2024. I want you guys to imagine big, imagine great things, even things like Kamala Harris for president. Anything you want. We just want you to imagine more.
It's better than Trump.
It's better than Trump. We want you guys to imagine more and
Amen.
be great. We want you to be great, guys. Have a great day.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Yes.